welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from different parts of the world that you are watching us today. I'm Bhavin Shah, here to bring you another episode of Fintech Pioneers, the series of interviews where we bring the real pioneers, the thought leaders of the fintech world who are truly changing the way in which we see the world today and are likely going to see tomorrow. One such amazing pioneer today we have is Arad Levertov, who is the CEO of Sunbit, one of the pioneering BNPL solutions out of US and the American markets. So Arad, over to you. If you can please tell us a brief about yourself and your journey so far.
Of course. Thank you, Bhavin, for having me. I'm excited to be here. I moved to the US in 2008 and joined a company that was doing financial services. It's called Innova International. Was before Fintech used to be called Fintech. So I really had the chance, started as an intern, a company that providing loan to consumer, started as an intern and then became the COO, but really learned everything about the fintech world. And while this happened, I also, as an immigrant, I started to build my credit in the US. And one of the days I went to Costco and tried to apply for a credit card. So, I don't know if you're familiar with Costco, but you go to Costco, I was there in the cashier, 3 kids around me, and trying to apply for a credit card, that Costco credit card. And the cashier start asking me questions about how much do I make and where do I live and what is my social security number. And after about 10 minutes of discussions, I actually realized I got declined. It was because my credit was just building and it was below the threshold that was good for the credit card company to accept this credit application. And it was pretty embarrassing and humiliating to get declined in front of other people when you stand in the line. It's not like at home, it's not like with your banker. And then I realized that it wasn't only me that get in decline. It's like about 50% of the people that apply for point of sale credit card at the time will get declined, and the other 50% will pay high fees and high interest. On the other hand, as I said, I worked in a fintech company that will give in loan for these customers, and then they go and buy in Costco. So I thought there should be a way to just combine these two together and provide what is called today buy now, pay later, but not go to the online market like other companies are doing a great job to go to the online market, but really focus on what we call necessary businesses, and most of them are in the physical location. So we created the buy now, pay later, which basically bring the entire technology of buy now, pay later into the physical locations. This is the company called Sunbit. We are based out of Los Angeles. We work mostly with car services and healthcare, dental and eyewear provider. We have nearly 300 people and we are growing significantly in the US.
Arad, what's the plan for Sunbit? How old is Sunbit and where do you plan to take it next?
So when you think about it, on what people spend the money more, you see that you get your salary and you spend most of the money on unnecessary, on non-discretionary essential services. You go to fix your car, you pay your rent, you go to the doctor, and these places, with many times they are a surprise for you. You need to go to fix a car, you think it's only an oil change, but then you realize you need to pay $500 to repair, or you go to the dentist, you think it's only cleaning, but it has a cavity or a root canal, and you're stuck and you need to get it done in order to get better your life. This is where we focus right now. And the good news is that this market is huge, and the only option that is available for customers at this point is the old-fashioned credit card, which I tried to use 10 years ago, and still approving only 50%. So right now, we are heavily focused on this, and between healthcare and car repair, there are 450,000 locations in the US, and we are like nearly in 10,000. So we have a long way to run, and really focus on this, helping the merchant, which is the service provider, to complete what they do and get the sale, and the customer to get the service and pay over time. So this is the focus. We have a long runway, and we are super excited about it.
Arad, clearly you have identified an amazing, unique sector, which clearly doesn't seem to be everyone's prime focus. But from a pure tech perspective, as you position yourself a fintech company, what are these unique features which stand Sunbit out from the others?
That's a great question. So the key is really when you work with a buy now pay later, when you work with fintech in general, you need to find kind of the great position between one, to be okay with the regulatory, right? You need to make sure that you're good and kind of clean, everything is transparent. Two, you need to have an amazing customer experience because you don't have time to get paper-based application like it was before. And three, you need to make sure that you're able to accept, to be inclusive, to accept a lot of customers. So not decline 1 out of 2, but actually to accept 9 out of 10, but still without charging higher fees, because you don't want to charge high fees for customers. So what we were able to do is to bring it all together. And with a process that is like 30 seconds versus 10 minutes, we are able to approve 9 out of 10. And this is by leveraging the most sophisticated artificial intelligence and machine learning that basically within seconds, as I said, we get the entire information about the customer and we apply it to the specific purchase, whether you fix your car or you buy you fix your teeth, whether you fix a car in the dealership, in the authorized dealership of Toyota, or you fix a car in the mechanic across the street, and how much amount you do and who is the person who offered it to you. And really within the second, we're able to adjust the loan amount to give each customer a better rate compared to what they have in the pocket. And as I mentioned, approve 9 out of 10 people where the others approve 1 out of 2. This gives us two things. One, great stickiness by the merchant, because they see that we provide them, we work with them. At the end of the day, there are people that work with this. And two, a great response by the customer, because we give each customer a better rate compared to what they have in the pocket. So if they have a credit card, we give a better rate for the credit card. If they don't give a credit card, we give a much better rate compared to going to a payday loan. So we developed this for the last 5 years. We started in 2016. We tested it in different verticals, and this gives us a great defensibility, as we are the only one who's doing this such things.
Awesome. So Arad, BNPL sector globally is getting discussed a lot, right? And to some degree, I would say it's also getting a bit overcrowded. There seem to be just so many players, and every day too many new players are coming in this play. Plus the traditional banks are also getting into BNPL, right? Visas and Masters in certain geographies are now claiming to get into BNPL. So what's your view as to future of BNPL per se?
That's a great question. You know, usually when something is hot, so everybody's trying to jump on it, right? I assume that many companies right now are trying to say, oh, I'm going to do BNPL for this area or for that area, and they probably get the VC money because the VC thing is hot. But at the end of the day, the winners will be the ones that are differentiate themselves, right? The ones that are doing something that no one else is doing. When you think about BNPL, it's a new name to an old industry, which is called installment lending, right? It's not like the regulatory was there for many years. It's installment lending. You basically take a loan and pay it over a month's number of payments. What the early BNPL companies did really well is really bring this technology into the make decision much faster. With the application, like I explained about what we do, other companies do it online, and really create this unique opportunity to make the customer experience better. And in general, what BNPL is trying to do, the technology is really to replace the credit card companies. When you think about the US only, there are $4 trillion of transaction in credit cards. And the credit card companies are still controlling. Everybody in the pocket has a credit card. So still, while BNPL is growing, the credit card is the big stuff. And the key of the BNPL versus a credit card is that BNPL tried to put the customer in the center. No high fee, personalized interest, which means you don't pay if you don't need to pay a lot, you don't pay a lot, and a great customer experience. And this is what you try to do. And the key, where you ask me where the BNPL will be, is the companies that are doing this in the best way. And that they're doing it in a way that the banks cannot do, because banks can catch up. But if you don't differentiate yourself from the banks, which means you need to approve more customers and the process should be faster, that's the only way you will survive. If you try to do whatever the bank can do, you will not survive.
And let me be a bit of devil's advocate over here. See, when we look at BNPL, right, today, BNPL in most parts of the world is non-regulated business, whereas the cards business, the banking business is regulated business, and hence attracts a certain level of fee, which probably BNPL is right now able to provide service at a very low fee because there is no cost of regulation associated with it. But having said that, this is also challenging that today, I mean, US has seen this and then saw the entire world in 2008, what was a subprime crisis, right? At least in the case of subprime crisis, the every single lending was recorded in the financial sector. But in a non-regulated BNPL sector, are we actually giving a lot of lending and private lending to individuals, which is not even recorded anywhere or collated somewhere for government to even form a view one fine day, how much is the true public lending and true exposure?
That's a great point. I think that, I mean, I moved to the US in the subprime crisis last time, so I remember it was super hard to find any job. And when you think about it, I agree. I mean, I think that the way to win is really to do with the regulation, right? You need to work with the regulator. For example, Sunbit actually reports to the credit bureau, which means if someone pays, we report you. If someone doesn't pay, unfortunately, we report. That's how it works, right? You need to do it, right? I mean, this is the ability to, one, encourage good behavior, but also to kind of discourage good behavior, bad behavior, right? And I think that the future will come with a combination of technology companies like Sunbit and the banks that have the regulations, right? So we, for example, we are the technology company that we have a bank partner, which is the lender, right? And we provide technology to the lender. Some other companies are doing it the same. And some companies try to do pure technology and ignore regulations. The regulation will catch up. I mean, it takes time, but eventually will catch up. And if you want to build what we call a sustainable business, a build to last business, you need to actually comply with the regulations. And if you do it right, it will become your advantage. So it become your advantage. And in general, in fintech, I think so. The more you spend time with regulation, the more you understand the nuance of the regulation, and in a positive way, maneuver around it and say, okay, I can use the regulation, but then I can do this and that. If you're able to understand this piece, you're actually going to be the winner for the long term. It might cost you a little bit more in the beginning because it takes time to really understand the nuance, and you need lawyers and you need more lawyers to really get into the details as you build the product. But once you do it right, it is sustainable, and you have the infrastructure to scale it big, really big.
As one of the early fintech entrepreneurs, how do you see the world of fintech changing in next 5 to 10 years?
So when you think about it, let's think about edtech, right? Let's think about us 20 years ago. When we grew up, we used to consume media by reading newspaper, right? And we used to see the ads by either ads on the newspaper or in TV or outdoor. And then what happened, probably early 2000 and a little bit after, the edtech changed because of the technology. Even right now, the way we would meet, now we are talking in a podcast, right? And we read the social media, and we do a lot of stuff. And then the edtech in general moved to this direction. It's much more personalized, much more technology driven. Fintech in general, it took a little bit more time to get the technology into financial services, because a lot of things you mentioned is the regulation, but also infrastructure. You needed to get the data. When you make a mistake on the ad, and you show a person the ad that the person didn't want to see, it's not nice, but it's not horrible. But if you make mistake in the money and you give the customer the money that he didn't get, or you take the money which he didn't supposed to take, this is much more expensive, and the reputation is much bigger. But now, in the last 5 years, the technology companies were able to get into the infrastructure and to get into the regulation and to start catching up, or in my case, the credit card that has been there for many years. And from here, it's only going to improve and to accelerate, right? The more technology comes, the more the work with the infrastructure of the credit bureau, the infrastructure of the money transmitter and the regulator, which is already happening, the more the change is going to be accelerated. So 10 years from now, like, everything that happened like 10 years now, in the last 10 years will happen in 1, 2, 3 years. Like, it's going to go more and more and more technology. And the future is in the fintech. I think this is an exciting time to be in fintech, because this is the right point of this acceleration.
So, what are the 3 key challenges that fintechs face today?
So the main challenge, or the first challenge, I think that you see that the service is not great. I mean, I'm going back to the experience that I had at Costco when I applied for a credit card. If you go to the dentist today, if you go to other places, you see that they will offer you a literally paper application. You will need to fill it with paper. And when you are as an entrepreneur, you said, it doesn't make sense. I have so many things I have iPhones, I have a lot of things in the hand, but I can still need to fill a paper application. But then there is a gap between what is allowed to do and what you want to do with technology. So I'm going back to this. The first challenge is the gap between the technology to the real life. The second is also related to this, is the customer adoption, right? The end customer, at the end of the day, you want the customer to use fintech. And whether it's a business, a B2B or B2C, the generation still trust, even maybe they don't like the banks, but they trust the banks, right? They don't like them, but they trust, because no, this is a banker, it looks nice, it looks with a suit, probably I'll believe in him. So there need to be some market education. So this is the second thing. So you need to, and then all of it, you want to build a business, so you need to run fast. So I think between the regulation and the infrastructure, the customer adoption, and the way that you want to run fast and really show growth, a good entrepreneur need to kind of balance all of it to make sure that they build, he or she build a great service that is unique and different compared to anything else.
Awesome. Arad, tell us, what would be your message to the global policymakers in the world of fintech? What should be the policymakers, regulators across the world should be doing to make entrepreneurs like you and the fintechs like yours really scale and grow up, which seem to be very good for the purpose of financial inclusion for the wider population?
I think that all of us, policymakers, regulators, entrepreneurs, and in general companies, need to think only about one thing, which is the customer, the end customer. Our goal is to create value for the end customer, to make sure the customer's life are easier, and in fintech it's cheaper, right? And it doesn't matter if the customer is a business or the customer is a end individual customer. As long as the policymaker will protect the customer, will understand that it's okay to use technology. Let's help the technology companies help the customer. It will be good. I don't want them to do something for me. I want them to do something for the customer. Once you think about the customer, so the good entrepreneurs that also think about the customer will win. And that's why we are here, right? We're not here to have fun. We are here to deliver value for the end customer by leveraging technology, leveraging our knowledge. And I think that the policymaker, that's what they want to do. They want to get the customer in a better place. Like, that's why we're here, to make the world in a better place. I know it's a big world, but at the end of the day, that's what we want to do.
I think well said. It's a combination of, I believe, 3 things. You want to give better client service, client experience. At the same time, you want a better efficiency, so a cheaper, lower price for the customer. And last but not the least, the protection of the customer itself, which is around safety and security.
Safety and security and data, of course.
Data as well as their exposure. And that fine balance probably seems to be important. Arad, last question in the interest of time. There are a number of young entrepreneurs graduating out of various schools, colleges. Everyone aspires these days to be a tech entrepreneur or a fintech entrepreneur. What are the three lessons you would like to tell them once they decide to go on this journey?
So I think the first lesson actually, think when do you want to go on the journey, right? Some people want to be entrepreneur because they want to be entrepreneur, period, right? For my case, it was different. I learned the sector, I saw the deficiencies, I saw the opportunities, then I realized that I probably have the skills to actually be entrepreneur. So each one is a different place, and don't become entrepreneur just to add, I'm entrepreneur in the LinkedIn. This is, I think, the first lesson. Do it if you believe that you want to do it, if you believe in the mission, like not just to have the title. I think this is super important. The second thing, if you decide to do it, you need to understand that this is hard. It's like every day it's hard, and it doesn't matter if you didn't raise money yet or you raise money and you have money in the bank. You're the entrepreneur, you're the founder of a company, you have employees, they look up to you, and you need to always push forward and make it, and you need to be ready for it, and that's okay. And like, if some people don't want to do it, but if you want to do it, you need to be prepared for it. And then specifically to fintech entrepreneurs, I think that really think that of the value that your company is going to create, and make sure this is differentiated. Make sure that other big companies will not be able to catch up really fast. Because if this will happen, eventually they will do it, right? Eventually they will do it. So think about, so to see the three stories. Think if you want to be entrepreneur. If you are, make sure to work hard and build a product that could be big, but also a differentiator, and have a great defensibility.
Awesome, Arad. I think, thank you so much for your time today. It was really aspiring and very, very insightful. And we wish you and Sunbit greatest success, and hopefully you'll become one of the biggest in the world in the particular sector that you have chosen. It truly adds a lot of value. And thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.